We're all aware of the age-old question, how much can you bench? But rarely do we ever get asked, how much can you press? Overhead, that is. Well, though the latter of the two questions may seem odd in a pec-dominant fitness industry, the vertical press, or shoulder press, military press, strict press, whatever you want to call it, was the test of upper body strength. Before 1972, the sport of weightlifting was commonly called the classic Olympic triathlon. The events were the snatch, the clean and press, and the clean and jerk. Out of the three, the press was considered to be the least complex movement, and was usually the first thing taught to beginner lifters. However, when the Soviet Union joined the International Weightlifting Federation in 1946, the competition and thirst for broken records ultimately led to the press's undoing. See, the press had turned from a strict movement to a dynamic one, and subsequently became very difficult for judges to judge. So, in 1972, the press was eliminated from competition, and thus began the classic Olympic biathlon, to which we still enjoy today. The decline in US dominance over weightlifting ultimately led to its lessened popularity in the late 60s. However, the weight room culture in the US had not died down one bit. Americans instead focused on bodybuilding and strength training, which led to the rise of powerlifting. This led to the bench press taking the vertical press's place as the upper body strength training staple it is today. The bench press has even taken over in sports performance, to the point of being one of the primary tests in the NFL Combine. And even though the vertical barbell press has shown the greatest response in anterior delt growth, the anterior delt being a massive driver for upper body power, we rarely see sports teams incorporate the vertical press as a main training lift. Any overhead work done is usually an accessory to the horizontal press. I think that coaches and the average gym goer usually follow a trend of avoiding overhead work and replacing it with something that will miss out on the stimulus entirely in the bench press. The most important reason why I made this video is to consider the actual importance of press training for weightlifting specifically. In Loputin and Oleshko's Managing the Training of Weightlifters, it is said that the dominant Soviet lifters spent 40% of their time training the press. After the abolition of the press in 1972, this number dropped to a suggested 20% of the training time. Then, later in the book, it's theorized by R.A. Roman that a biathlon lifter should only allocate 10% of their training to the press. I would argue that it's possible most elite lifters don't allot even 10% of their time to the press, and they just treat the press like they would any other accessory. It's hard for me to say how much press training you should utilize. However, if you are in a general strength cycle, it should be the first upper body movement you train. One thing Loputin and Oleshko kept mentioning was, with the lessened training spent on the press and the more spent on the clean and jerk, they saw increases in the clean and jerk and no sudden increases in the snatch. Now, this isn't to say that the two work inversely, meaning if you don't do any pressing and focus specifically on the jerk, that this will be the best scenario. However, I do think it points out that your pressing strength may not correlate with your jerking strength in any sort of expected manner. I recently hit a PR split jerk from the blocks, followed by a nice little gym fail, and my goal for this session was to be able to press a pathetic 50% of that lift. Now, luckily, I was able to squeeze out a measly 83 kilogram press, which is just a little bit over 50%, but I ended up failing miserably at 85 kilos. Suffice to say, next strength-based cycle I run, I definitely need to revisit the press and increase that number. Thank you guys so much for watching this video. If you enjoyed this and want more training-based educational videos, please subscribe.